Hi, y'all. We're excited to have you here and want to welcome you to Flatiron School's Women Talk Tech panel. Today, we're discussing empowering women for the future of tech. My name is Corey Mickelson. I'm the event coordinator here with Flatiron School, and a big part of my job is hosting these free introductory workshops as well as panel events like today's event to give you all the opportunity to meet some of our team and get a better feel for the Flatiron School experience. A quick little reminder, we're using the chat as our main source of communication. So make sure you set that little blue button from host and panelist to everyone so we can all chat together. Since we're doing a panel event today, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the Q&A. I will be collecting them as the event goes on, and we will answer all of them at the end of our Q&A session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our moderator for today, Catherine Sommerfeld. She's the Director of Marketing Campaigns and Events here with Flatiron. Go ahead and take it away, Catherine.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so as Corey said, I'm the Director of Marketing Campaigns and Events. I literally had my 1-year anniversary with Flatiron School yesterday, so it's very nice to be here with all of you. I'm going to let our panelists go around and introduce themselves, and then we'll get down to some general questions, some more specific questions, and then your questions. So please do drop your questions in the chat as we go. Corey's going to be compiling them so that we can get them to our panel toward the end. Without further ado, take it away. I believe we had an order that I have forgotten. So, Christine, if you want to get started, I'm going to take a quick look again at what our order was.
Works for me. Hi, everybody. My name is Christine Egan, and I'm a curriculum developer here at Flatiron School for the data science program. I got into data science via philosophy and computational linguistics. And during the pandemic, I felt like data science would be a good pivot, and it would allow me to expand my Python skills, which is something that I really enjoy. I had the opportunity after Flatiron to work for the government for a little while as a contractor in research and analytics, and I've always liked roles with an educational component, so that's how I found myself here. But I'm very happy to be here today to share my experiences with you all.
Okay, so I apparently went backwards, but Saman, could you introduce yourself next? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And hi, everyone. So glad to be part of Flatiron School Women Tech panel. And myself, Saman Fatima, and I'm connecting from Atlanta. I have been into cybersecurity for the past 5 years, but I just took a master's break, like just to pursue my master's. So I'm currently here doing my master's in cybersecurity from Georgia State University. And it's been really great to actually come up and represent cybersecurity as one of the pillars. So really excited to have a conversation and take up everyone's question as well from the school. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Siana, if you'd introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Siana. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia also. And I'm a learning experience designer here with Flatiron on the product design team. My experience started, I was a language instructor in Asia for 5 years. And I traveled for 8 years teaching English. And then I started once I started a UX design course, I asked myself the question, what would it be like to bring design and instruction together? I had no idea what a learning designer was, and I didn't know that it was a thing, but I did a deep dive and I figured out that I could design learning experiences for anybody. And so it's a very agnostic field, but I found myself loving the tech sect. And I've worked across a few industries, but tech has been my most favorite. And so being in product design with Flatiron, I've been here for about 1 year and 3 months or so. And I'm excited to continue this journey. It's amazing.
Thank you all so much. It's great to get to hear some about you. Okay, so I have our order now. Corey was gracious enough to humor me. So as I ask the first couple of questions, they'll be for all of you. We'll go round robin. Our order will be Saman, Siana, and then Christine. If you need me to repeat a question at any point in time, just let me know. I'm terrible at remembering things, so do not hesitate if you need me to repeat. Okay, so our first question is, as you were each looking to start your career in tech, did you experience any specific obstacles? And if so, can you share a little bit about how you were able to push past them? And again, we'll start with Saman.
Thanks so much, Catherine, for that question. And it's been like I have to go back really back into years when I started up with my career in cybersecurity, specifically in identity and access management. And that happened like in 2017 when I just completed my undergrad degree in engineering, and I started up with my first organization. It was pretty tough because what you actually see in school, college, and university at your undergrad level, and when you just start working out into technology, there are a lot of things you get exposed to theoretically / practically in your school, college, but how do you actually put up into real life, in real life business requirements and situation? That's something is the trick there. And it was really overwhelming for me at the very beginning to actually understand how actually things are connected. There is a certain kind of process for everything that the organization follows. There are approvals that needs to be taken. And we know, like, for example, if there are any sorts of commands that needs to be run, there are certain privileges and everything that, was spread across the team. So a lot goes into learning. So initially it was more for me, that knowledge transition sessions to learn more about how I fit in, what are my major elements that I can put in as part of the team. And then you eventually understand the flow of it, that how things actually work, how you fit in, and what are the specific learning points, or what are the things but how they have to be implemented is to be done in a certain way. So, that is something that can really make you land into an uncomfortable space, but that will be really for a very lesser amount of time. But eventually that how things actually works up in books and how actually you have to implement them in real life. So that was more of my first year's experience when I was just out of college, and it took me some time, but yeah, eventually I've come really a long way and took a break from now professional world. But, I know it, like what you learn is, how you have to implement it. It depends from organization to organization. And yeah, you always have to have that learning mindset.
Yeah, that period of time where you're figuring things out is always a struggle, but there's nothing better than that feeling when it clicks and you're like, oh, I've got this. Like, this is second nature now. Thank you so much for that, Saman. That was great. Siana, same question. So as you were starting your tech career, did you experience any specific obstacles? And if so, can you share a little bit about how you were able to push past?
Yeah, for sure. So first, as a Black woman going into tech, I already was shortchanging myself. My thoughts were something along the lines of, I'm never going to get this job, but I'll still apply. They're probably not going to hire me because of ... So why should I even apply? I was, like my mom would say, I was cutting myself off at the knees before I even had a chance. And it was kind of this dichotomy in thought of, I'm still applying, but I don't believe that I'm good enough, which is that my thinking and my approach to getting into tech, I needed to work on that so that I could last in tech. Now, especially as women on that side, right, there's a little bit of a difficulty in, I have found, and through my experience in conversations, women have a hard time believing that they should assume a role because of the pressure of that we can feel from a male-dominated industry. And so I'm trying to be like very clear about how I struggled through it. So in all of this, I had to continue affirming myself with reasons why I do deserve these roles, with reasons why I am qualified, and continuing to encourage myself and my creativity and what I brought to the table. Because if I believed it, then they'll believe it. And it started with me first. And so once I opened that door, I literally gave myself 1 week and I said, okay, Siana, you're gonna say yes to everything this week. You're saying yes to everything. So I went on LinkedIn, I applied to plenty of roles. The end of that week, I had more recruiters in my inbox than I was able to respond to. It was literally just a decision that I had to make. And when I did, the outcome was outstanding. So I had to get out of my own way in a very compassionate, caring way, not like some militant, like, get the hell out of your own way. But in a very compassionate way. And the result has been nothing but just an upward incline since then. So
Absolutely. I love that. And I can see just from stuff coming in the chat that everybody really relates to that. We have to be our own champions, right? I mean, if we don't believe in ourselves, who's going to? So I love that answer. Thank you so much, Siana. Christine, how about you?
Oh, thank you, Catherine. And actually, I kind of want to echo some of what Siana said about, dealing with that self-doubt, pushing past it, and how rewarding it can really be. And like, in addition, I think, to being rewarding for myself personally, it also started to really help my interpersonal relationships at work. Because a lot of the times, like, if you're coming into a situation unsure of yourself and other people actually do admire your work, when you're doubting yourself, you're making them doubt you. But also, if you're somebody that they're looking up to, it makes them feel worse about their skills. So I think that part of that for me was to just become like aggressively okay with being wrong. With saying, I don't have to I don't have to have the correct answer right away, but you know what? I know where I can find the right answer, or at least I know that I can find the right answer. So, like, once you get comfortable with being wrong, because believe it or not, like, in tech, everybody in the room is unsure about themselves because it's very niche. There's so many little different specializations you can have. Somebody can be an expert in cybersecurity, but they don't know anything about data science, or, you could be great at data science, but you don't know anything about Canvas or some other tool that, you're going to need. So I think that, being humble and having openness and just be okay with being wrong sometimes, because it will show other people that they can be wrong too. And it'll just be a better environment and more innovative, because you'll try stuff. You won't be afraid of making mistakes.
I just wrote down aggressively okay with being wrong. I love that. I think that is so true. I think that's something that over the years I've really realized myself, is that, you learn from being wrong, right? So it's okay to be wrong because you're going to take something away from it. I love that. Thank you all. That was really great. I think fantastic responses from all of you. So I'm going to move on to the next general question, and then I'm going to get more specific individually. So this one is, what role did mentors play in your journey into tech, and how did you go about finding a mentor? Again, we'll start with Saman.
I just wanted to clear the fact that when we really talk about mentors in your specific areas, it's not like you're tagging somebody as your mentor, like, you're appointing them as your official mentor. It's more of, at what points of your career, of your transition, of your, of the work you do, where actually you meet people and they guide you with things, they advise you with certain decisions of yours, and you really, really like them, and they, let you come out with colorful, decisions. So it's more of, there is really an essence of having people who have been into that space, into that situation. And when they guide you with things, that how things actually work up is something great. And it's not really like that people have to have that niche, or they have to have like zillion years of experience, or, you know, no offense, but they have to be old enough to be into that particular level and they only can guide you. No, it's more or less like if you find somebody who is younger to you but has that things who can mentor you with that particular thing, with that particular technology in line, take it. Just do not bring that fact, or do not have rules for taking advices, or taking certain level of advices on your decisions, on your transitioning career or anything. They could help you with a lot of things. Just for an example, if any of you here has like 10 or 12 years of experience, and you want to transition into some other technology, some other space, and do not have rules and regulations for having a mentor in your life. You can be a mentee at any age. You can learn from anyone at anywhere. So I see a lot of like cyber communities specifically have mentorship programs, where actually I have landed into a program where I was younger to the people who I was mentoring. So my mentees were, have spent like a lot many years into the industry, but they were still ready to learn that what you have a new perspective about that particular tangent to cybersecurity or anything else. So there have been a lot of mentors for me all the way across, like 5 to 6 years that I've juggled with different things into cybersecurity. And they have helped me at every point, like either professional or personal. It has been a give and take there. And that's what the community actually means, that we always run a barter system of how we benefit the community and how we learn from the community as well. So that's more of my perspective about mentors. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a really great perspective. There are so many people we can learn from, right? And age doesn't matter. It's all about experience. Who has the experience that you need to learn from at that time? Okay, so Siana, do you want to talk to us about mentors?
I'm so excited that you asked this question. Saman, you nailed it, right? Like there's no age for a mentor. And then when I came into my career, I thought a mentor was going to be one person that walked me all the way through this thing. And that is not the case. I've had mentors that had no experience whatsoever with what I was doing, but they've been in my situation before, right? So my first mentors were actually people who responded to a LinkedIn post. One thing that y'all will know about me, I love LinkedIn. All right, so in every answer, it's going to be somewhere in there because it is widely shaped how I got to where I am now, and my network is amazing. So, anyways, I posted about an issue that I was having with finding a job, and a couple of my friends shared the post, and a recruiter came back to me, and he walked me through what was wrong with my resume and why I wasn't able to present why my experience was not being received in a way that it should have been. So he walked me through my resume. I had another friend that walked me through my interviews and how I was showing myself in interviews. And she is a beautiful Afro-Latina woman who has gone through so many different types of career changes and has had to push through quite a bit as well. So she was the one that was hyping me up in how to present myself confidently in front of a camera when I was interviewing with companies that I didn't think I was good enough to qualify for, or roles that I was good enough to qualify for. So along the way, people have shown up. And also along the way, I have shown up for people, because what we receive, let's give it, right? Because this it's not all for you. It's for you to also give. It's not transactional, but it's give and take. Denzel Washington, amazing actor. I love him so much. He says, lift as you climb. And that's something that I fundamentally believe. As you're climbing this career ladder, or as you're climbing your freelance ladder, as you're climbing your entrepreneur ladder, lift others up too. And that same energy is going to come back to you too. So it's one hand feeding the other. There's so many different ways to say this, but mentors have shown up when I needed them. And I have been able to show up for others as they have also been able to benefit from my experience.
I think that's a fantastic response. Everybody, I'm seeing all the comments come through that you lift as you climb. Brilliant. I also think the thing that is wonderful and that I can see just from, the way you're speaking, Siana, is that you're open to the feedback. And I think that's a huge thing, right? Like, we have to be willing to hear what other people have experienced and what they have for us. And that is how we all climb. And then we share it with other people. Christine, tell us about mentors.
All righty. So, I agree with Saman and Siana that a mentor doesn't just have to be one person. It's going to be a series of people across your journey that give you advice, show you kindness, will share your post for you on LinkedIn to help get you a little bit more traffic. And that's all like really helpful. And then, in the same token, sometimes like it can be hard to find those mentors. So I am first generation college student in my family. I come from very working class family. And a lot of the time that when I was in college, like I felt very out of place. And I started to get really interested in tech, but I felt out of place there too. But I was fortunate enough to meet people who treated me kindly and encouraged me to keep going to talks, keep trying to learn how to code, and keep putting myself in these situations where I would meet more people who would then help me along my journey a little bit further and a little bit further. And along the way, to go along with the whole theme of like lift as you climb, that sort of would fill my cup up a little bit more and give me a little bit more confidence to then go to the next person who might be struggling, and, encourage them, give them advice, and to definitely pay it forward. And I would actually also bring it back to my experience as a Flatiron student. It was about a year after my undergrad. I was supposed to be going to grad school, but it was COVID. So everything just kind of put a wrench in that. And I was feeling really lonely because I had this interest, like I had this dream, but I didn't have those people in my life anymore because I was out of college to like help get me there. So signing up for the data science bootcamp kind of gave me like that instant community, instant support system. I had an amazing instructor, Amber Yandow, who was like there every step of the way. And for me, it was especially valuable because I hadn't had an opportunity to work with a lot of other women in technology up until that point. So that was very rewarding. But then after I finished boot camp, one of my non-technology mentors was my career coach at Flatiron, who was like incredible in just pumping me up, keeping me encouraged, helping me, have a strategy for my job search and and land like the job that I really wanted. So, I've been really blessed when it comes to mentors, and I've also been fortunate enough to be able to help others. And I would encourage you that if there aren't people in your life that can do that for you now, then seek them out because they're there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christine. I think to Siana's point, LinkedIn is a great place to start. I also have that love of LinkedIn, so I love hearing that. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of a round robin. I'll ask each of you a couple of questions, and then we will open it up to questions from the folks in the audience. So Saman, I'll start with you. I know you transitioned from being a professional, you'd been working in cybersecurity for 5 years full-time, to being a full-time student now. So how was that transition and how are you managing it?
Thank you so much, Catherine, for that question. And I expected that question to come because I have as I mentioned, I've done my undergrad back in 2017 and been part of the industry for 5 years. And then I thought, because it was in the back of my head that I have to do my master's in cybersecurity, it's just I wasn't able to get out of my comfort zone to actually take up that step and get out of that full-time professional thing to becoming a full-time student. That was the thing I was really scared of, like how would I even manage it and stuff like that. And then moving to a new country altogether, because I'm an international student, that just really hits you with a lot of things. Staying away from family. And then we have to put this really out loud that when you are working for a couple of years, you have that stability and everything at your doorstep. And when you just transition to be a full-time student, that just goes off, that just vanishes. And there's a lot of things that you have to manage out with your savings and everything. So that was really a very, very difficult step. But at the same time, I'm really proud of myself that I took it, because that was really something at the back of my head. And I visioned myself that I wanted to do my grad school that I have to attend. But nevertheless, I thought that it would be here in the States at Georgia State University. But the transitioning was really tough. It's just what we have really talked about in the past half an hour, about how you take that step, how you just have that learning mindset, and the things just flows out into your area. The same things that really worked out for me as well. And just keep that, just keep yourself grilling towards what you want. Do not be too tough on yourself. I've not been very much tough on myself, but yes, when you take that uncomfortable step coming out of your comfort zone, it just really hits you. And there were many obstacles leading from minor to major issues, but eventually I'm going to graduate soon this year. So that's the best part you actually look out to. And eventually you'll be back to the same state of working in a new country, new job, and whatever you did learn, you can just implement it. So that dream really just flourishes at a point. And I would still resonate with everyone who mentioned everything about things, how you actually start up and everything. I know everything is difficult, but yeah, if you want it, you get it. So that's majorly what I had.
That's amazing. If you want it, you get it. I love it. That is fantastic. So you've seen both sides of the coin now. You've been a student, you've been a professional. What advice would you give to somebody who's entering into cybersecurity right now?
I would say that as everyone says, and as everyone you would have heard talking about, that there are a lot of positions that are open for cybersecurity folks. Yes, it is. I understand that the job market is still not in a good shape. I understand that. And yeah, I'm struggling with the same thing. But as I say, cybersecurity is really gearing up. And there are a lot of things, as we talked about LinkedIn as well. The portal is really something that you can make the best use out of it. There are a lot of trainings, a lot of free vouchers about things that you see on the portal, and you can make use of it. That goes without saying that yes, there are certain discrepancies with job descriptions and everything, where you need a lot of things in the JD, yet it's just an entry-level position. But yes, we are coming out more, towards positions where actually certain things are required and which you can get it at your own ways. And apart from that, there comes a bigger picture of cyber communities that really play a very important role. If I just talk about cybersecurity, there are many communities that are actually doing really great with connecting you to a lot of platforms. And you can actually learn and grow and do a lot of certifications, workshops, and everything, gain those CP credits and use it for your own self. And, you can actually show it that, I have worked on these instances. There are a lot of virtual boxes that are available that lets you, do the attacking or learn about a lot of things for free up to a level that you can leverage and make use of it. So I would say LinkedIn really plays a very important role go and see what are the communities available. If not, you can connect back with me and I will help you with all these things. If you really wanted to start up with cyber and how things really work up, who you can connect, what communities offers what, it's very important for you to explore that. And that will really help you to learn more about and to learn actually about the different domains of the field for you to choose it in the future and go about it.
Thank you so much. And also, what a generous panel we have here. Someone's like, find me, I will help you. I love it. I love that attitude. Siana, I'm going to turn to you now with a couple of questions. So I know you mentioned, and this may have been when we were chatting before we started, but that you haven't always been in tech. So when did you know that you wanted to be in tech?
When did I know I wanted to be in tech? When I got there. That was when I know that I liked it. I had literally talked myself out of being able to manage tech, like tech thinking, tech industry, and the pressure of being in tech. But I was working with a design agency, and we worked on a project. We had several different projects, some in the food industry, some in home improvement industry. Then when we had a project with Facebook, I was like, oh, I like this. And so my portfolio was building and it was going really great. It was going amazing. And then I was approached with an opportunity to work with Facebook. And I was like, okay, there went the negative thinking. It's not going to happen. Who's going to, they're going to figure out that you're not actually who you say you are. Are you really even a designer? Like, where did you get qualified? Like, I started tearing myself down, but then I built myself back up because I had to get through that interview. And once I started working with Facebook, I realized I really like this. I genuinely enjoy it. And then from there, I worked with Dell, and that's when I was like, I'm in. I'm like locked in because this is where I'm needed. It's not really where I aspired to be, but I see that my skills and my talents and my creativity are necessary here. Because tech can get boring real quick. Listen, I was like, how do y'all sit through this for a long time? Because this can't be this. Somebody in here doesn't want to be in here, and I'm not going to be the only one to admit it. Okay, so that was when I was like, okay, I can make this better. As a designer, I can make these trainings better. I can make the entire learning experience with tech better. I know that I can do that. And so the opportunities just continue to grow. But yeah, I had to build myself up. And so that's when I realized, not that I wanted to be in tech, but I needed, tech needed me. Because now that I'm in tech, the opportunities have been endless to take things from PowerPoint to something that's a little more functional, easier to digest. And I might be even throwing in some cartoons, some animations, and some illustrations too, just to make things a little easier to digest for more visual learners. It's a lot. But I, as somebody who also has ADHD and a couple of other things, I'm definitely neurodivergent. I create, excuse me, I create or recreate my learning experiences, or the ones that I'm tasked with. I create those for people like me, because people who are not neurodivergent or who are more normative still benefit from that. We actually don't need so much copious, detailed information coming in. Especially in a bootcamp environment, there's a lot of autonomous thinking, autonomous learning that we need to take in for ourselves as well. But what you're learning with the instructors, for example, maybe that can be broken down so your attention span lasts a little bit longer. And so I learned, and I started learning about human behavior and how we learn across cultures, across abilities, across languages. And I started simplifying things to what we actually need, and it's been amazing. So I didn't necessarily aspire to be in tech, but once I realized that I was needed there, I'm in.
I love it. I love that creative approach to tech too. So my second question for you, and you've spoken a little bit about this already, but how has imposter syndrome kind of shown up in your career, and how have you worked through it?
Right. So, definition of imposter syndrome: perceived fraudulence. I'm a fraud. They're going to figure me out. Self-doubt, incompetence, regardless of education experience and accomplishments. Um, Complete honesty moment, and I think transparency is great here. Safe place. As many minorities, Black, female, neurodivergent, queer woman, there was a lot that I talked myself down about. And I've mentioned this, like building myself up. When I started with Flatiron, it took me about 6 months to actually settle in, to believe that they were not going to figure out that I was a fraud. I would do the work, but I swear I checked in with my team lead so often, like, is this okay? Is this what you're looking for? Are you sure? Like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired tomorrow. Like, it comes in waves. It came in waves, it sometimes comes in waves. And I've got to sit back and I've got to realize, okay, look at where you came from and stop looking at what you haven't done yet. Because I was setting these like high expectations, but really it was just my perfectionism that was like kicking into high gear. And as a high achiever, and struggling with perfectionism too, and imposter syndrome, that was a bad mix. And so I had to start calming those down a little bit and start writing my affirmations and start finding reasons why I am on the team. Start finding reasons why they do like me, start finding the reasons why I do belong here, and not just continuing the cycle through the reasons why they're going to fire me next week. So as I've grown through my insecurities, I've been able to excel. I feel like I don't know much about horses, but for some reason this is what came to mind. A horse that's been let out of a gate, like the gate things that they're in. I could have used another example, but like a horse that's just been set free. I could have just said a person, but either way, like I just feel much more free now that I'm not holding myself back. So just know that imposter syndrome does come in waves. It happens, and be prepared for it, but find the reasons why you do belong instead of the reasons that you don't. And that's the key to it.
Absolutely. I love that. You are such a positive force. It just kind of exudes from you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Christine, I'm going to turn to you. My first question comes a little bit from me. I took a statistics class for my MBA recently and ended up loving it. And I'm now considering taking our data science course once I'm done with my MBA next year. So can I still have a career in data science if I struggled with math in school? Because I definitely did.
Well, you'll be happy to hear that the short answer is yes, you can still have a career in data science if you have struggled with math, but you have to be willing to make peace with your tolerance for frustration. And the long answer is really another question, which is, why do you think that you're bad at math in the first place? And a lot of people feel like they're bad at math because maybe they struggled in math in, elementary school, high school, college. But maybe you weren't the problem. Maybe you had an impatient teacher. Your parents may not have had the resources to help you. You might have been neurodivergent and other needs were more important to your development at that time. You might have had peers that made you feel bad for it not coming naturally to you. And if you're a woman, especially if you're over the age of 25, you probably got a lot of messaging that no one expected you to be good at math. And, if you're not, that's okay. You could be good at other stuff. Which, was well-intentioned, but can be very limiting, especially now that we're living in a world that is increasingly more technological, at least having, those base skills, statistics, and things like that are super important for a lot of careers. So I think that you can get by with a lot less math than you think, and you will learn math along the way, and it won't be so bad. Also, you're going to be part of a multidisciplinary team, so you don't have to be the resident mathematician. You can have other strengths, but as long as you've got the gist of what's going on, you and your team are going to come together to make it happen. And I would also dare you to kind of consider what things have changed about you and changed about your environment since the last time you struggled with math. And maybe, if you're a little bit older now, I think our frontal lobe stops developing at 27 or something like that. So if you haven't tried since before 27, try again. Just give it a try again. So yes, you can definitely have a career in data science if you have struggled in math in the past.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of trying again too. And I just saw Siana said the same thing. I hesitated to go back for my MBA for many years because I did not do well in those math-based classes, and then ended up absolutely loving statistics. I mean, genuinely just enjoyed that class, never thought it was going to happen, loved it. I'm fascinated with all of that stuff. Data science is probably, one of those things that I'm definitely going to want to learn. So I think that's really great. And I think your feedback is amazing. So second question for you is, what are some of the challenges that you've faced as a woman pursuing a career in tech?
Yeah, so I think that this question is kind of going to pick up on a lot of the themes that we've been discussing over the course of the hour, which is, dealing with imposter syndrome and, not knowing if you really belong there. But that can sometimes really be exacerbated a little bit more if you are a woman in a male-dominated field. And that's because there's a lot of unspoken things that are happening. I think sometimes we take for granted that men are uncomfortable at work too. So sometimes their approach is to just be a little bit colder. And sometimes this can translate to maybe you don't get all of the same professional development opportunities because you're not participating in as much of that small talk with the boys and things like that. And that's okay. It's okay to do your own thing, but you kind of have to, you have to balance these two ideas, right? One is that sexism exists, it happens, a lot of it's unconscious, but it's still, is not really fun. With the idea that not every negative thing that happens at work has to do with sexism. So, you almost have to assume ignorance over, somebody, behaving in a sexist way. So, and I don't want to paint a negative picture at all, because my experiences have been amazing. And there have been plenty of people that I've come across that have offered me guidance and supported me and that I've learned things from. But there were times that I felt like I didn't get as many of those professional development opportunities. And I think that if I could go back to some of those situations, that I would maybe try a little bit harder to create my own opportunities. And I think that as I go forward in my career, that's something that I will be looking out for is, what are some ways that we can kind of fill in that gap for women, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think I'm seeing so much nodding from our panel, and then also just so many people relating in the comments. So I think this has really been a fantastic conversation. We do have a bunch of questions from the audience. So I want to put them out there. And then if any of you feel specifically like you want to respond, just kind of jump in. So I'm going to break this one up into two questions, because I think there's a more general question here, and then there's something more specific to cyber. So the first part of this is, do you think the job market is really open to women who are retraining at an older age?
Yes.
Yes.
Go on.
Okay, next question.
I would rather say yes, it is that they are really open to that thing. And as part of cyber communities and leading them, I've also seen instances where organizations are actually really pushing towards and not like pushing back when any women has like a career break, be it for a professional or a personal reason, and they are now again retraining themselves to get up to that mark and apply again and have that foot up straight into that technology. So I would say a big yes is here. It's slowly and gradually been changing. So I would say that can be one reason. But yes, times are changing, and I know a couple of examples that I've seen it live, so I can say it and vouch for it. So it's a yes.
Christine, did you want to jump in as well? And I think
Yeah.
I saw Siana come off mute too, so I'll grab you next.
I want to definitely agree with a lot of what Saman said. And also, I think, we do have to be careful with ageism. It can be a problem, but I think that the willingness to retrain and pick up new skills shows employers a lot that your age is not what they're going to be focused on. But there are some occasions where age, not so much age, but experience will work in your favor. So even if you're new to tech, but like before I was in tech, I worked in the restaurant industry for a while. My first tech employer loved that because they're like, oh my God, you have like restaurant industry grit, but tech skills, like we need this. So I think definitely yes.
And Siana.
So I also want to say, again, on a more behavioral side, someone who is switching careers as an older woman, for example, that does show their grit, that shows their level of focus, that shows their ability to decide, that shows their capacity to as a risk taker as well. And that shows also that they're willing to go against what society deems as normal. Who wouldn't want them on their team, right? And not knocking young folks on the call, okay? Let me just say this, but the younger generation going into tech will have so many opportunities flooding their inbox, that you're more likely as the younger generation to jump around. Some companies want folks that are going to stay for a while. And so the older generation, and we said 25 earlier, just talking about frontal lobe stuff. So I'm just going to start at 25 and say 25 and older. You're more likely to stay in one place. And that's the benefit that you have, is for companies that are looking for somebody long-term. And they're not looking for a short-term project. You're less likely to be contracted. You come with more experience, more perspective, and a different purview. You've gone through life, you've disagreed with people, you know how to disagree for the most part, maybe, hopefully. You know how to conflict resolve, you know how to work in teams. Like, there's so much that comes with being an older person that is in the job market or on the job market. So there's honestly more pros than cons. There's definitely a lot more pros and cons in being like older and career changing.
Awesome. Thank you all. The second part of that question was whether there's really a skills gap in cybersecurity and cloud computing, especially as much as we keep reading online. And I see those articles too. So I think that's a great question.
There is as we see that the technology is really upskilling itself, and we really talk about cybersecurity or cloud computing, uh, once we started out with security and to secure our system years back, when I just see like 10 years back, it wasn't that of a thing about cybersecurity or people moving their data from on-prem to cloud. And now when we see like your social media handles or maybe your organization's data is not secure and how actually you are safeguarding it. And when we also talk about cloud, we also have now a lot of platforms offering you zillions and zillions of services. And it's for you, your organization, your budget, your funding actually to know, or the requirements to actually know which one of the platform do you want to go with, and how does it actually aligns up with your current systems or the processes that you already have set up. So it just depends on what are the business requirements, how things have to flow in. And then there, like if there are certain number of features that are being added, then you have to have that workforce as well to know more about that features so that they could be trained, and likewise the end users also know more about it, how to actually use it or how they can benefit it for themselves. So there is a skill gap, I would say, and with that technology is also upskilling itself every day, and that is why it's always said that you have to also go hand in hand with technology, or else technology will move forward and you will be left behind. So, for example, if I just say, the new ongoing feature that is ChatGPT and how people are actually using it. So if nobody knows about ChatGPT or haven't been exposed to, one day another AI tool will come into picture and you'll just be left behind. So having that know-how skill and, building up that skills to actually work up and know more about technology can actually let that gap bridged between cybersecurity and when I say about cloud computing, because there are now a lot of platforms and a lot of organizations are having their own in-house cloud tools as well. If I talk about different companies, it's just not the ones we've heard, but others have also come up with, and how they're actually benefiting, how the features are different. So if, for example, you have worked on AWS, but now you're part of a different organization who uses their in-house tool. So there is a gap in your skills. You have to learn more about. I know the baseline remains the same, but yeah, the features differ. So that skill gap has to be bridged.
Thank you, Saman. Okay, I'm going to keep moving because I know we're getting short on time because this has been a really great conversation. Okay, so our next one was, I'd like to go work in Europe in cybersecurity as an American. Do any of you have any tips about finding companies to sponsor a visa, especially when you're early in your career?
Okay, I'll start with that. Maybe others can also add up more. So when we talk about really e-verification, that's majorly when you land up to a new country and you're not native to it, and you wanted to apply for your work authorization and everything. So I may not know much about the Europe and which particular place and how actually companies work for, but the organizations who are spread across different countries would be the best one to actually target for, which have their presence in America and in different places of Europe as well, could be the organization that you can hit up first. I don't want to take specific names of the organization, but that could be the first level work that you could do it. And yes, apart from that, there could be a lot of data online as well to know more about how you can get that work authorization, how different people who have migrated from US to Europe and how things have worked for them. And yes, again, I would say LinkedIn comes into picture here. You could know more about people who are now in Europe and would have been from America or any other country migrated, because they would also need that e-verification to actually work for those organizations in Europe. So connection and networking can actually work best for you to have their experience as well and how they have started up. So that could be one thing. I have a couple of friends in the Europe. They have moved from different South Asian countries or US to that particular place, and they are now working. So if you want to connect, I can make them connect to you, and you could know more about particular opportunities and everything in the Europe.
Thank you, Saman. I think also to come back around on Siana's love of LinkedIn and also my love of LinkedIn, Mary mentioned networking and Saman also mentioned networking. I feel like one of the best places to start is always just to look at your network. Who do you know who works for a company that you might be interested in working in another country, and how can they help you kind of bridge that gap and find out, you know, how you would go about applying for a job in another country and getting that sponsorship. Okay, so another question. Is there space in tech and the workforce to open up college-focused internships to pivot those opportunities to admit mid-career professionals? It always seems like people say just apply to them, but most auto-filter out everyone but college students. So basically, do you think there's opportunity to open up internships that are, you know, typically geared toward college students for people who are mid-career, especially if there's somebody who's starting out in their tech career now?
I could start off with this one. I think that if you're a mid-career person, then you'd probably be better off with an entry-level job over an internship. And the reason for this is, you know, like, for example, my first job in tech was as an analytic consultant, and there were a lot of parts of my job that were not 100% technology focused. So, you know, there was still plenty that I could offer the organization as they were getting me onboarded. And I think that you'll have a lot more luck getting those roles. And this is not, you know, scientifically proven, but instinct tells me that you would probably have a little bit more luck getting an entry-level tech job than one of those internships. Those internships can really help, but I think that they're geared towards students who are coming out of college with not a lot of life experience and work experience. So it's not really the tech skills they're teaching you in the internship. They're more teaching you like, oh, okay, how do you fit in the tech culture? And, you know, like, I keep bringing it back to my experience at Flatiron, but that was kind of one of the things that it did for me as well, is that I almost, once I got into my first tech job, I was like, oh my gosh, this is very similar to how they ran my Flatiron course, where we would have stand-ups, you know, we would check in a certain way. And so I think that internships may open up, but I think that you should just go for those entry-level jobs because you'd probably be surprised.
I want to add to that. Internships provide experience. Great. If that is not an option, I encourage creating your own problem and solving it and tracking that in a case study. Your case studies say everything about you, and they talk about how you solve problems. They open up what the issue, even if it's hypothetical, what the hypothetical issue was, your solution, how you went about solving it, what tools you used, softwares. You're creating the user persona, or the perfect person, or the worst person that you would not want to use this, or if it's an accessibility option. You can create problems to solve in the meantime. So if you're in between an entry-level job and you're not getting accepted to internships because they're primarily for college or university students, create a problem and solve it. Fill up your portfolio, write the case study, and again, companies are more interested in your drive than they are in it actually being something that was a real world issue. You can go on Pinterest and find something if you want, You can go onto your favorite app. You can open up Spotify and seeing their new layout, or you can watch for example, you can watch listen to the interview from the Spotify CEO, co-president. I don't remember which one, the guy with the weird name. And you can create a problem if it's cybersecurity or if it's data analytics based on their numbers of users, or if it's cybersecurity based on cybersecurity stuff. Or software you can do based on your discipline and the field that you want to go into. Find a problem and solve it based on something that you enjoy, right? If you like rabbits, if you like Minecraft, if you like dogs, if you like water bottles or sports, there's always a problem that you can solve there, and that will be great in addition to what the real world experience that you bring into your portfolio in your interview in whatever role that you want to apply to.
I think those, excuse me, are both great pieces of advice. Okay, next question. I would like to get a remote job connection or mentorship, looking to land my first gig. I'm from Africa, did my software engineering 3 months ago, and still looking for a remote opportunity. So any advice for somebody who is job searching right now?
Okay, I'm gonna go first while y'all think. Oh, no, Saman, you go ahead first.
Go for it, Siana, go for it.
Okay. In the meantime, I keep talking about this. In the meantime, oh, this is so good. Okay, in the meantime, while you're waiting, bring people to you. So on LinkedIn, create content that makes people look for you. Give them a reason to want to have a conversation with you. Give them a reason to be curious. Give your network a reason to want to introduce you to their network. And so once you put out the post, maybe 2 times a month or 3 times a month, hey y'all, like this is what I'm focused on, and you're showing them, this is what I love, and you're showing them, this is what my skill sets are, and you're showing them based on the content that you're building, I'm looking for a role in XYZ. This is my criteria, this is my experience. They'll be looking for you. You want to bring people to you, and you create that gravitational pull by creating content on LinkedIn or wherever it is that you want to generate and expand your network. It doesn't matter where you're from. It matters what you're able to bring to the table. And so having your open for work on LinkedIn, that banner is great. But the first thing that people want to know is when they're clicking around on your profile, they look at your activity. How active is he on LinkedIn? Does he post? How are people responding, right? Because we have groupthink. So people like what other people like, right? And then they look at your experience, your portfolio, like your features section, what work have you done? And then they go down into your experience. So it doesn't matter where you're from, that we can remove that as a blocker, as a mental blocker. Let them come to you because you've shown them that they need what you have, and you show them that through the content that you build.
I really agree to all the pointers that Siana actually mentioned, but upon that, I wanted to add up few more things. LinkedIn is really a powerful trigger for that because it lets you connect with a lot of people who you don't know are actually hiring. But now with the LinkedIn feature of that banner of hiring, you could also reach back to those people and talk to them like what is the requirement and everything, and have a conversation there. But when I say that having a conversation with those people who are actually hiring for that organization, it's very important for you to put forward yourself in words that you are open to work, what all you know. It's just not just saying, hello, how are you? Because it's just not that platform to actually have small talks. You have to be on point because you don't know when the person would revert back on those messages. So you have to be on point. I would really, really suggest everyone to have LinkedIn Premium if you're students and looking out for positions. And for students, it's really out available, you can have it. And you get those premium emails where you can actually reach back to people you are not connected with, and have a snippet typed up for yourself about who you are, what you do, what are the things you have on plate, and just send that message to them that goes into their email. And once they accept it, they could take that conversation forward. Secondly, how you actually make up your LinkedIn profile is also very important. You have a lot of things, a lot of featured section. With your profile, when anybody visits you, they could actually see what are the posts you're liking and what are the things you are doing. Like, for example, you attended a workshop, you gained up CP credits, or you went to a conference, you posted few pictures, or you learned something, you gave a certification, or it was just Udemy courses, anything into that particular feed. If that's on your feed, that will really help you at the very initial ends to have a conversation with things. And actually you can present yourself that, okay, this is the job in XYZ technology, and I have done so and so things into it. So you can back yourself up. Although you don't have like professional experience, but you still know a lot of things that they can work on with. So these are the things that you have to put yourself forward with, and there's no harm in, self-branding. So it's very important that personal branding is really important for you to be out there in the public, for people to know you and connect with you. And yes, it's just not virtual networking. If you have an opportunity to visit any conference, any networking events, anything in your own city, I would just say go for it. Interact. You never know where you actually connect with people and get that job that you really wanted it for your, first gig or first start. So that's really important for you to connect with people, and how you actually put yourself out is also important.
Thank you. I think the thing that came up from both of you too is having that that elevator pitch, whether it's written or it's verbal, but knowing what you're going to say, how you're going to say it concisely, and how you represent yourself. And I think that's true across every industry and every role. I've had to do it for myself. And especially as you get further into your career and you have a lot of things that you want to convey, you still have to be able to do it quickly because you don't want to lose people. So I love that feedback. I think it's all really, really great. Okay, going to move on to the next one. Does anyone know about great learning resources on computer programming for people with learning disabilities? That's an interesting question. And now you're kind of giving me an idea for a campaign. This is where, so if any of you are receiving Flatiron School emails and you think they're a little corny or punny, that's entirely me. If it's got silly jokes in it, it's me. But I think this is actually a great thing for us to look into further and maybe put out there as a blog post. And also maybe as an email campaign, because I think if you're asking, then there are definitely other people who are asking the same question. So I'm going to take this note for myself, and I'm going to get with our content manager and see what we can come up with. We'll reach across, I think, our instructors, our curriculum people, and, people who are much closer to the actual texts than I am. And keep an eye out for that. We will make sure that we put it everywhere, on social, on email, and on the blog.
I want to say that Flatiron, one of the reasons why I really enjoy being here is because of the ongoing curiosity around accessibility. It's amazing, and I do wish that we were able to answer your question specific to computer software, software engineering. I want you to know that we are having the conversations and we are talking about it. And it's across the board. And it's not even because we have to, it's because we want to. Inclusivity is one of our top 4 values. And we live it out, especially with somebody like me that's on the team. Oh, it's gonna happen, because I was the different learner growing up, and I needed so many different types of accommodations so that I could retrieve and store the information that I was learning. So just know that even though we don't have the answer right now, we're looking for it too. And by the time that you're with us, I'm sure that we'll have a really great, and I don't want to call it an accommodation, but a really great option for you to learn the information in a way that is beneficial for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
I would recommend YouTube. I know that that is a little bit vague, but I think that if there is a topic that you're interested in, the ability to be able to pause it, take a break, go back, watch it 16 times if you want to, or listen to it while you're cleaning your house because you can't sit still. These are all things that I struggle with as a person with ADHD. So having YouTube just as a resource to immerse myself in topics has definitely helped when I don't have the bandwidth to sit still.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've done that too. And I think the beautiful thing about YouTube is that you can find different people explaining things in different ways. So if you don't get it from the first person, maybe the next person will, something will click for you. Thank you, Christine. That is really helpful. Okay. Do we need the certificates if we don't have the degrees is the next question.
I think that it's hard to find the networking opportunities without the network. So I think if you have the skills and you have the network, the piece of paper doesn't make as big of a difference. But, for example, if you get a degree or you go through a certificate program, you meet people there, you meet instructors, you meet people in that field, you meet people who are your classmates in your cohort. And those are all people who are, vital to your success in getting that job. So when you remove that from the equation, it does make it more challenging. But if you become, like amazing at LinkedIn and stuff, and you can build a network. Like I have seen people without degrees and certificates be able to land good jobs. So I think it's possible, but then you have to build your own network.
I would like to add on here. I also have an undergrad degree and I'm pursuing my master's as well for the grad degree. But I don't have like any cybersecurity certificates that I can put it out on my profile as well. I'm working on them, learning, but that goes without saying. When you have like your finances sort up, when you think that you are in a space that you can get those things, and it's both for certificates and degree, there's no this and that. When you think you're in a space that you can fund yourself. Secondly, when you think that that particular course will really help you go along the way, and that's just the only option, and you're not able to learn from anything else, those are the few questions you have to get it out on the table and know that if that experience would really turn up your life, putting a lot on stake, is I would say go ahead. And if everything, your finances and everything are all cool, I would say go ahead, give it. So I would again say there are like a lot of posts on LinkedIn as well who give you vouchers for different certificates as well that are open to everyone. And it's just you have to put out a comment or reach out to the person and you get those vouchers as well. So I have done it myself for few of the certificates and they really work best for you if you just get the voucher for that exam and you just study for it and appear for it. So you're not losing anything on the, at least on the finances part. It's just you're giving yourself time studying and sitting for that exam. So I would say be very much vigilant on how you wanted to go through the paths, either for certificates or degrees. And do you have the substantial resources for it? If yes, go for it. If not, see for plan B if anything else works for it and you can go about it.
Thank you. Okay, we had one comment that I just want to throw in here because it's still fairly relevant to what we were just talking about, which is someone said, I always ask about accessibility because I have a learning and physical disabilities, and it's made my learning journey very difficult. So thank you for adding that note. Okay, our next question, and we're down to just a few more minutes, so I'm gonna keep going. I come from a very soft skill dominated background before transitioning into tech. I feel like that may be a potential where I'm failing in resume screenings. How should I showcase both my tech and soft skills on my resume? Should my tech skills outshine my soft skills?
I got it. Okay, so go ahead and remove the soft skills, leave that for LinkedIn. And you want to make sure that you highlight your accomplishments in numbers. You want to make sure that you highlight the projects that you've completed on your resume. This is all for your resume. So accomplishment in numbers, be very number heavy. The projects that you've completed, make sure that there's a link to your portfolio that's on your resume. And it's like your skills section. You want to talk about experiences that you've had. If you have been a presenter at a conference or specific to a tech conference that's relative to the role that you're applying for, or that's relative to the type of tech that you're going into, you want to highlight your accomplishments in there also if they're anecdotal, away from your experience. So go ahead and remove the soft skills. That will shine in your LinkedIn profile, and that will shine also through your interview. But your resume is real estate, and it's prime real estate. Also, there's something called an ATS system. It's the applicant tracking system. ATS is very important because that's the first person, which is actually just a software, that is reading your resume before any recruiter actually considers you for the job. Look at the job description, find the technical words that they're using, the phrases, the words, and you want to make sure that each resume that you submit is for each role. Do not submit a resume for 5 different job descriptions or 5 different roles. That's not how that works. It's one-to-one. It takes time, but it's worth it. So if you want to look it up yourself, just let me see. Just look up resume ATS system, and you can just start there. And just understand that your resume is prime real estate, and you don't want to confuddle. I love that word. You don't want to confuddle it with soft skills. You can go ahead and remove that. ATS systems, if you can build your resume to an ATS system, one-to-one per role, you'll get through. I promise that.
Yeah, keywords are so important. I have found the same advice to be very helpful, is going through the job description, looking at what those keywords are and making sure they're in your resume. Thank you, Siana. That was great advice. Christine.
Yeah, I second all of that. And I would say that there's also a couple other little secret places where your soft skills might come through. So, if you came from a humanities background, in your undergrad or something like that, an employer that sees, oh, they have an English degree or they have a philosophy degree, they're going to know that you know how to write, that you've done a certain amount of public speaking and had some communication skills, and just certain things like through getting a bachelor's degree in a non-STEM field. So I think that you don't have to explicitly say the soft skills, but there will be other little things on your resume that will give it away. But I think that Siana is definitely onto something, that it's don't tell, show, show. So, yeah.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. We've got 4 minutes, so let's go. So this one is, I am an ill person and I'm trying to learn for a career change. I'm scared to talk about this on my journey because it seems like people in tech have to be healthy, youthful, and vital to deal with the stressors. How can I communicate to a company that I have the demonstrated skill sets?
I have scoliosis, so, and a couple of other chronic illnesses. So, I definitely deal with a lot of stuff. related, medical things and stuff like that. And what I've kind of done is I only bring it up at work, like when it's necessary. And because I've kind of started looking for ways to accommodate myself. So I look for a job where I can work at home. So, where I sit or the desk that I sit at or how I'm comfortable is going to be a non-issue. And I think that, like, if you are in a position to just be able to show off your skills and not disclosing your disability until perhaps after you've already been hired, I think that that's a good idea if it's possible. Now, that being said, it's not always possible to do that. And I think that it's a real fear that people have because of attitudes in the past towards people who are disabled. But I think that those attitudes are changing. And I think that, it can be very scary, and I don't want to diminish that. But there are a lot more nice people in the world than you think, that have people in their lives that also have disabilities and would want them to be treated with kindness, respect, and dignity. So even though it's really hard, I would say look for opportunities to accommodate yourself before they even have to accommodate with you. But if they can't, or if you can't, it's okay to be brave and disclose, because there might be some negativity, but you might be surprised at how many people are receptive and who don't hold, those same prejudices. So I just want to encourage you as much as possible.
Thank you, Christine. I really appreciate you sharing that. Okay, we have two more. Corey keeps adding them for me. We've got a lot of great questions today. Thank you all so much for your contributions, because I think this has been a really fantastic conversation and our audience has really contributed to that. So one I have here is, can you describe what your day-to-day is like in each of your roles? I'm new to tech and I'd love to learn more about your daily responsibilities.
Oh, I'll go first. Okay, I love this one. Okay, so I wake up, walk my dog, and I check in on Slack with my team. I check in on Slack with my team. I let them know what I'm going to be working on for that day. A lot of, yes, my baby. A lot of the way that my team functions, I forgot the name of the structure, the hierarchy. But we're flat. So we are working on our own projects individually, and then we come together twice a week and talk about what we're working on. So as much as I seem like an extrovert here, I'm so introverted, and one-to-one conversations actually really stress me out. So I have one-to-one with my team lead, who is an amazing and super compassionate leader. I have one-to-one with him per week, and that's the same time, the same day, each week. And throughout the week, I'm working on the project that I have. And what's also amazing is that if I find a hole in something that I'm working on, I can task that for the next sprint. And so, hey, team lead, this is something that I've noticed, and maybe we can, use this for the next sprint. And it's something that's put on like a task board, and we just backlog it until I'm finished with the current project, which takes somewhere from 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes it's extended to 5 or 6 weeks. But on my team, and how it was at Dell and at Facebook and Home Depot also, you're working on your stuff, they trust you and you want to keep that trust, and you show your work once a week until your work is done. So that's my experience on my team with product design, and it's amazing, and I really enjoy it, and it helps my stress levels stay moderate.
I'm a grad student, so that's not like the day in the life really changes up a lot. So I wake up, I have my breakfast and then check the emails, whatever is needed, because I'm working as a research assistant under a professor. So I have to know like what things have to be done. And apart from that, I am part of a lot of communities. So, you know, how things have to be mended up on those platforms and what events and everything that has to be coordinated. So that work, and that really just keeps me pinned up for the entire day, because there are a lot of things, and then schoolwork comes into picture in a lot of housework as well. So these are the major responsibilities when I talk about when I am a student, but yeah, it may change when I start working full time as well. So, yeah.
Christine, what does your day look like?
I would say that my day is pretty similar to Siana's, where, you know, we'll check in via Slack. My team doesn't check in via Slack every day, but we do meet 3 times a week for 15 minutes to just, it's called the stand up, and we talk about what we did and what we're going to do. I have a couple of like one-on-one meetings. Sometimes I have meetings with other departments like instructional design to integrate like data science curriculum content into our various platforms and stuff like that. Because I'm a curriculum developer, I also get to write a lot of code. So like I'll write code for internal tools. So my day is kind of just like a mix of independent work with a couple of meetings during the week, and yeah, that's basically it. And then sometimes I do stuff like this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I've got one more here, and then I think we will have to cut because we are a little over time. I see. Okay. Is it okay to have a resume of 2 pages? I often hear to only do 1, but I can never fit everything on 1 page. I'm just going to go ahead and say you can have 2 pages, just don't go to 3. But that's my experience, especially I've been working for a little over 20 years now. So I've cut my experience down to what is relevant to what I do. So it's my marketing background and not the stuff I did before that, but it does take up a lot of space. So I'd love to hear everybody else's input, but from my perspective, 2 is great.
So based on my research, cybersecurity is probably one of the only tech disciplines where you should stretch to 2 pages. And I've learned that it's encouraged to try to keep it to 1. Try to keep it to 1. If it does stretch to 2, that's fine. But recruiters typically look at the first third of your resume. And so keep all of the most, if it does stretch to 2 pages, keep the most important information, what you want them to know you for, or what you want to be highlighted, to be in the top third of your resume. So organize it in a way where that information is easily available and easily scannable. You get about 30 seconds of somebody to look at your resume. And so that's why it's encouraged. Maybe keep it to 1, but if you have 2, go for it, but they may not see the second page.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And part of why you start kind of cutting off the older stuff too is because everybody just wants to see what's most relevant. And in most cases, your most recent experience is going to be the most relevant. But I think that is the other, another great piece that Siana just pointed out. Make sure what's most relevant is upfront for everyone to see. Christine, Saman, any additional feedback from you?
I'd say it depends on the job, but if you are going to make it 2 pages, make sure that none of it is fluff, like, you know, like that it really, really needs to be there.
Yep.
And I think that you're good.
I agree with that.
I know the same point of having a 1-pager, because you wanted to outshine yourself, and 2 or 3 pages are something that I haven't seen it in cyber roles that go really beyond. So I would just say stick to 1-pager. that gives you more than sufficient space to actually put up a lot of points. And yes, relevancy is very much important, and just make sure you're away from redundancy of things, repeating things again and again. And if you have any soft skills or any leadership skills or anything that really resonates with that role, please put it. But if it doesn't resonate with that role, just skip it.
Absolutely. I think those are all great points. All right, everyone, we are going to wrap up. Thank you so much to Saman, Siana, and Christine for all of your expertise and your wonderful, wonderful feedback. I think this has been a fantastic panel. We want to thank everybody for joining us. I am going to drop the link to schedule an admissions chat into the chat, just in case you'd like to meet with our fabulous admissions team and learn more about one of our programs. Again, thank you, everybody. This email will be going out within 3 business days with the recording. So if you need to watch it back or you want to share with a friend, you will have it. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.